carried on. The Japanese government decided to establish a policy that it will allocate 6,800 billion yen to defense expenditure for the next fiscal budget, which is the largest defense expenditure in the past in Japan. So, according to the Japanese government officials, defense expenditure, including the expense of transformation of the U.S. Army for the next fiscal budget, will come to be 6,800 billion yen. So, at the beginning of this year, the government quoted 5,400 billion yen for defense expenditure originally, but this time defense expenditure is quoted 6,800 billion yen, which is 1.2 times bigger than the original budget plan scenario. So, for part of the breakdown of this defense expenditure this time, they will allocate 200 billion yen to Tomahawk missile, which is a cruise missile made in the United States for possession of counter-force ability. That should be mentioned on the national security strategy in Japan. And they also will also allocate 33 billion yen for development of Type 12 surface to ship missile, and will allocate 80 billion yen for mass production of this missile. In addition, they are considering installation of military drones to avoid personal damages in the battlefield as much as possible. So military drones that they are considering to purchase are not only the one for reconnaissance, but the one for land transportation and marine transportation in the battlefield. So the Prime Minister Kishida has intention to increase the defense expenditure by 43 trillion yen in the next 5 years, with a policy of radical strengthening of Japan's defense ability. For this year, tax revenue was the biggest ever in the past in Japan. So, considering this situation, allocating a part of this tax revenue this time to defend expenditure should be the consistent solution to cover the shortage of defense expenditure. So, if the government always counts on increasing tax rate to cover the shortage of defense expenditure, this is very easy, shallow solution and policy, I think. But there are so many things left to do before stepping into the decision to raise the tax rate, such as reviewing the individual government's expenditure to stop wasteful money flows inside of the government, and allocating reverse funds inside of the cabinet to defense expenditure. And from my viewpoint, I think there are still so many rooms left for financial adjustment to make a defense budget from the Japanese government. So inflation and energy expense hike and commodity price hike are putting pressure on people's living now. And if the element of tax increase also comes into these factors, I'm sure people's living will go worse and worse. So people's consumption behavior will be naturally restricted, and of course, tax revenue will reduce by the influence of this factor. So this is the easiest scenario that we can come up with, and this is the thing that we always worry about, and this is the things that old people question about. So I don't know why the government doesn't have the stance and idea to reduce expense from wasteful money flows in order to increase the tax revenue from there.